dress. She wears Armani knickers and she's always in a mess. So if you see her dancing, don't think she's
Right, Roger. Okay, welcome back to 2018. Delboy's Garage 2018. This is the very first video of a new year. Thank you all so much for your amazing support last year. Hey, Penny Pit Stop.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome back to Penny Pit Stop, doing some filming in the garage. It's been a month or two, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've been working.
Obviously with December, because Penny runs a business, it's Christmas time, so she's not been able to get in the garage for at least a month or so, isn't it, Penny?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So welcome back. It's good to have you back behind the camera.
Thank you.
What we're going to do this year is a few different things. I think we've been saying it lots, so I'm not going to make a big old speech and say it now. Quite simply, we're going to do a couple of things today for the very first video to answer a question, a hugely recurring question that's come again and again, and that is about how much weight we've added to this bike with all the stuff I've made from steel, predominantly over the last year or so since I've been fabricating the bodywork. Bodywork fabrication has practically come to an end now, certainly as far as the big bits are concerned. Now I've done it and drawn a line under it, I can weigh everything. If I am over the weight that the original bike was, and I've got it on record there, 25 kilos, which is what I took off, if all this weighs more than 25 kilos, I've got to have a bit of a rethink, do something else. There are some options, perhaps take some of it down, change it, so there might be some alterations. If it's less, then I'm very happy. And as I was going along and making little cheeky weighs now and again, then I think I might well be under. We're fingers crossed, aren't we, Ben?
We'll see. New Year weigh-in.
New Year weigh-in, there you go. It's the first thing you're doing it after Christmas, the New Year weigh-in. The next thing quickly was, obviously I used to have crush bobbins on here. When somebody fitted those, they fitted them on with a piece of threaded bar, so the bolts are missing. So I had to go to Kawasaki and buy some very special one-off bespoke bolts that only fit to that particular fastener on the Kawasaki. They're very specially made bolts, super fine thread, specific length with a capped head. So I've had to buy those at a cost of about 25 quid, which is a little bit of a point, and I've got to fit those today. So that's got to be bolted on, weigh all the bodywork, and I think that's it. Isn't that it, Ben?
A few other things to talk about.
A few other things to talk about and catch at the end. Let's get this thing weighed and find out how much its fat ass weighs, or whether it's actually under the weight that it was. Let's get stuck in. Right, let's set it up, see what we got. Okay, 25 kilos is what I took off the bike when I started stripping all the standard stuff off, and that included a carbon micron race can, not a big fat heavyweight original can, just the lightweight. But I weighed that too, and that gave me a total of 24 and a half, we just rounded up to 25. So adding that up through, that comes to 16 and 2/3 of a kilo. So let's just round that up to make it easier to 17 kilos, which is what all the current bodywork that I've made and fabricated weighs. That's what it all adds up to. I was a little bit surprised myself, but that's what it comes to. 17 kilos so far. Tail pan, under tray, seat unit, belly pan, everything. Yeah, it comes to 17. Done everything. So take one from the other, gives us a saving of 8 kilos. I can't believe that. Still at least 8 kilos lighter than a standard bike, or than this bike was. Remember, I took the fairing frame off. When this bike was factory standard, it had a great big fairing frame, which was quite a heavy load of gantry. I've still got a bit of it in the office. It's just a big old fat heavy thing, not made to any lightweight standard. Also the plastics, I was shocked at the weight of the side panels. These big sports bike side plastics, they're about 6 mil thick, heavyweight injection molded plastic. Goodness knows what they're made from, but oh my goodness, they're floppy and soft and big, heavy, thick plastic. It weighs so much when it adds up, when it's all the way on both sides and underneath with a belly pan as well. It really added up. In the tail, obviously the tail unit itself, that had a pillion seat frame, it had a grab rail across the back, 2 actual seats, 2 of these things, obviously rear foot peg hangers, all that adds up. Because I was conscious that obviously this tail unit itself, with the belly pan, comes to 7, nearly, what is that, 5, 6, 7, it was 8 kilos just in this bit here, these 2 pieces. But of course, the concern would be I'm putting extra weight at the back and less weight at the front. But that's not the case, because in that sense, I reckon the tail plastics, the seats, the foot peg hangers, the big heavyweight things that the pillion can stand on, I reckon they added up to that weight. So I don't think I've shifted weight, because it would be dangerous to put loads of weight at the back and less weight at the front. That would unsettle the bike in cornering and handling, and I think that's absolutely fine. I've no problem with that. I'm going to junk that. That was a cool idea. I enjoyed planishing that. I enjoyed hammering that out. It was a great exercise, and I learned a lot from it, and making the frame underneath. But I am going to keep it, because that will go quite well on a bobber or a chopper or some other project in the future. It's heavily made, well made piece of kit, very solid, and it only weighs half a kilo. It's only a pound in weight, that, and it's got threads underneath. So I'm going to keep that, but I'm not going to use it on this project. What I'm going to do instead is probably go for a thin piece of steel to make a standard seat base that will bolt through the 4 holes, and I'll just get it upholstered in the regular way. So it'll be a little bit like an R1. If you look at a Yamaha R1, the seat kind of hugs the plastics, that sort of thing instead. I think it'll look a lot nicer too. So that remains now just one more job. I want to put these engine mount bolts in, and then we can wrap it up. Would you reckon, Pen?
That's it.
8 kilos lighter, that's some January diet, isn't it?
Not bad after Christmas.
After Christmas, let's get these bolted in. And as you can see, this is the original factory bolts that go in the frame. They're engine mount bolts, and they go in the frame where those crash bungs were. This is what I was trying to say to everyone. If you take something like that out of your bike, then don't throw it away, because that was £11. That whole lot, the invoice for these 2 bolts and 2 nuts cost me £22 from Kawasaki, and there's no other way that I could buy them, purely because the length they had to be, super fine thread. The nut on the end is a specific, it's a heat-proof nylon locking nut. It goes on the inside of the frame, and they are not something that you can buy in a bolt shop. They're not a universal bolt. It's a super fine metric thread, but it's a big 10mm piece of bolt. Normally the thread on that would be super coarse, so you really have to buy those only from the main dealer. So if you ever take this sort of thing off your bike, just don't throw it away. It's so irritating to future owners. There we go. He said somebody took these out, put the crash bungs in by using a piece of threaded bar, which is alright, nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that practice, but keep the old ones, stick them in a box, keep them safe. The nut on the inside lives in a little recess, so it's captive in that sense. I'm just going to spin those in. Yeah, do the other one. Right, yeah, I can see it a bit better now. Now, one thing that I have decided, love that, love that, love that. Everything else I'm happy with. The belly pan or the under tray underneath is going to take a little bit more work to get that right, so it blends in and looks nice. But this is the one thing that I think not just me, but quite a few of you, and definitely her, don't like this, do you?
No.
No, and I think this was the first thing I did. The tank was the first thing I got involved in. I had this idea of making this cool steel box to put a little digital GPS speedo in, like when you put your phone in, and then this, I don't know, Venturi around the tank. It was just kind of made it up as I go along, really. It was a bit of fun, and I had loads of materials left, loads of fiberglass and stuff left from other projects, and I just did that. But honestly, me too, I've kind of fallen out of love with this. So this is going to change. The next part of this project, because there isn't a lot more to do, I'll recap what I've got left in just a minute. This is going to be changed now, because actually when we look at it, now I've got it all in one piece, it's easy to do so. I can pick up this line here. This is the original line of the top of the tank. If we forget that, just ignore that. That's the original line, and it picks up perfectly in the tail. The tail is higher. What I initially had the idea to do was to have it matching all the way along the top, but then it's flat, and a Streetfighter should be tilted forward. It should be aggressive and tilted in. So this is coming off. I'm going to get rid of all this, flat it off completely, and I don't like that anymore. As I said, she really doesn't either. So that's going to get changed next. And the idea behind it, the hope is that once I rip that off, this line, the original line of the tank, will return, and as that will follow up through, and it will give the bike a tilted forward stance, which is what I want to make it look nicer. That's the idea of getting rid of that, hopefully. Let's see how that works at the weekend. That'll be the next video after this one. So there we are, that's it. After that, it's just bits and pieces, really. I know it sounds odd, but it is. I've got to change the brakes, I've got discs, I've said all this before. I want to get the wheels powder coated because they've been painted over paint. There's about 5 to 10 coats of paint on there. So I'm going to get them blasted and ripped off back to bare metal, which means first getting these knackered old tyres demounted. They're going in the bin. When they've been repowder coated, I might paint them myself, might use the tough black. I've got loads of it left, and I have painted wheels with tough black. It is an excellent wheel paint because it's flexible and it doesn't chip. Powder coat does chip. So in my view, I might just paint those and save the money of getting powder coated. At the same time, if you're going to get them blasted, it'll mean putting new bearings in them, because one piece of blasting grit gets into that bearing, it's going to destroy it over time. So I'll put new bearings in there after they've been blasted and cleaned off. So there's all new wheel bearings. So loads and loads of videos to come on those bits and pieces, but we are hoping to aim to get this on the road for the summer, aren't we, Fen?
Hope so.
Hope so. Lots to do, little bits and pieces, but we'll come to each of them as we do. But that's it for this bike. I think hopefully we should have this ready for the Max Star to paint. Late spring, dare I say? There we go. Anyway, one more thing to talk to you about. Do over here. Right, here we are. Just one more thing. The toolkit. Remember we drew the winner out of the Delboy's Garage toolkit at Christmas Eve? Well, James was the winner, as you saw, and we thought we'd take it up to him instead of send it in the post, because it was probably cheaper in fuel to drive it the 3 hours than it was to actually send 25 kilos in the post to him. So there we are, a couple of pictures for you, dropping it off. He showed us his toolkit, didn't he?
Yes.
He got the toolkit out from under his stair cupboard that he uses. It was a shoebox with about 4 items in it. So I think an absolutely deserving winner, somebody who really will make the most of it. All these toolkits, we had a great project with that last year. We started back sometimes in May, wasn't it? I think we started the first work with them, and we put that toolkit in place for £200, roughly about 350 quid of the tools if you buy them individually from Wiimoto. We managed to get them to down the price to 200, including the box all in, so that's a really good deal, and lots of you bought them. They sold out altogether just before Christmas. They're now restocking at this time, and they'll have them available again shortly. So if you make an order for one, if you want one now that all the dust has settled from Christmas and you've got a few quid back in your pocket, you can buy one. They'll be in stock and they'll get it out to you straight away, practically wherever you are in the world. You've got to talk to them about shipping. So what's next, Ben?
Amazing. Can I just say thank you for all the wonderful messages we had over Christmas and New Year.
Yeah.
We had something like 500 odd emails. Thank you so much for your support.
Absolutely. It really was amazing. It took us about 2 days to get through it all, didn't it? And we want to read all of them. That's why we take the time over it, because we want to read your messages. Each one of them is heartfelt. We try and come back to you if we can. So thank you for that. And of course, to our patrons. This last year has been probably the greatest year yet. We've got fantastic patron support. We've managed to squirrel away a little of that money, and we've managed to invest in a small machine lathe and a bandsaw, and that's why the big cabinet here is missing. We took that away. That's gone to the office. We needed some storage space there anyway, so that room now is going to be where we can put the bandsaw in there. The lathe will go over this side on the bench, which has always been an empty kind of wasted bench. I don't do anything on it other than put things like the cup. So that's going to get used as well. We're just trying to make better use of the space. This little gap here, which we're just storing those at the moment, they'll be out of the way. We're going to make a little steel table there, screwed to the wall, which I'll put the sander on, so I'll have the belt sander in there at the same time. Just trying to make this a little bit better and safer place to work when I'm doing fabrication stuff on the bikes, with a little bit more room to store stuff when we're not. So there we are. That's it, Ben.
Some people have been concerned that we're moving ahead too quick, but we have to work with our time better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what this is about. Investing in the bandsaw, for instance, that would have made those videos on doing Penny's shop, the jewellery stand, when I cut the angle line to 45 degrees, that would have taken 10 minutes to do all of that cutting on the bandsaw. As it was in the end, it probably took me more like 2 hours with the grinder and the sander to get them absolutely correct. And of course there are costs involved in that, cost of the discs and the sanding belts, whereas with the bandsaw you've just got a steel blade, it lops them up in no time. And it also makes an absolutely accurate angle so I can do better quality fabrication, which is what drives me. I want that. So it's our patrons, you, our patrons, giving the money that you do, supporting us in the way that you do, means we can make more content because it won't take so long. That video took 4.5 hours to make that second jewellery stand. It should have taken more like 2 hours. If it had only taken 2 hours, I could have done another one or something else and split them and made 2 interesting short videos. This is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make short, interesting content, stuff you can flick open, watch, really enjoy, and another one pops along in a couple of days' time. And that's about investment, and that investment comes from our patrons. So to all of you who have either been our patrons, so patrons past, present, and potentially future, if you want to support us, if you want to support what we do and help us to make this channel a better channel, something more interesting to watch, to help you to save money on fixing, repairing your bike, and also at the same time to inspire you to do things on your bike and make it different and stand out from the rest, because we love to do that. There's a lot more to owning a motorcycle than just riding it, don't you think, Ben?
Sure is.
Making it your own and all the rest, stamping your own mark on it, and you can do that if you get a few skills, and that's what we hope to be able to project to you and inspire you to do for yourself. Anything else, Ben?
So here's to 2018.
Here's to 2018. Thank you for watching. Take it easy, ride safe, and welcome to this year.
Happy New Year.
My awards goer, she wears a goer's dress. She wears full money knickers and she's always in her best. So if you see her dancing, don't think that she's a fraud. She's a bad, she's a bad.